it's been a bit of a shake-up and a bit of a transition as well. So, um, key guys for me, I think right at the very top of that is Jamison Gibson-Park. Um, you just saw on the weekend again against Australia where he's coming back into his own, speeding up the play, opportunistic in terms of his ball in hand, making the right decisions, whether it's passing, kicking, or running himself. He's always a threat. So he'd be right at the top. Second, I think James Lowe. I think a lot of the times very much undervalued, I think, just in terms of what he brings to that squad. Being able to exit with that left boot on the left-hand side of the field. He hardly ever goes dead with the ball, goes into touch or anything. He's got the ability to keep it alive, get the offload going, and then a fantastic finisher as well. I think Mac Hansen will be critical this weekend with the kicking game. He was really good on the weekend against Australia, and we know what South Africa will bring. So he's going to be a threat from that point of view. And then same thing for Gary Ringrose. I also think, so underestimated and undervalued defensively, so strong, good reads all the time, makes good decisions, and he's a quality player. So quite a few guys there, mainly in the back line, but you can go the whole back, whether they go Aki or Hench or now McCloskey. It's a formidable midfield as well. And then the pack is pretty awesome as well. And physical, good line-out drills. On the weekend they applied so much pressure. Call it for the last 5 minutes of the first half and then second half in that Australia game. So Paul O'Connell needs to get mentioned as well in terms of his prep for the lineouts. And Paddy McCarthy at Loosehead, I think it adds so much having two sets of front rows that can do a job.
Yeah. But what again, like someone like Sheehan, like what have you made of him over the last, couple of years? He had the bad injury over in South Africa, but it's come back well.
Yeah, to recover from a ACL injury like the one that he's had, he's a phenomenal player. I think between him and Malcolm Marx, two very similar players, and just physically they've got the presence. They're very accurate with the darts. They are both strong scrummages and massive work rate around the park, whether carrying or tackling. So he's a fantastic player, and he would also be one of their one of the main guys that you want to neutralize within the game.
Yeah, and there was I suppose we were hoping for, you see the nominees came there yesterday. Like I suppose we might have been, you're always you have your own little kind of wishes and stuff, but thinking that maybe Tyg Byrne might have got nominated, but maybe that red card against New Zealand went against them. But he's a guy, from what you've seen and doing a great job down at Munster now as well, but very consistent.
Yeah, it's it's the one shining light from a Munster point of view, having Tyg Byrne there on a consistent basis, because the numbers are certainly running out from Munster representation, in the starting lineup. So he's been one consistent, and also does a lot of the dirty work and massive work rate, massive output, and whether you slot him in at lock or as a loose forward, he's always very effective.
And then what is it? Again, you have chatting to someone like, I suppose maybe one of our most consistent players as well. Our biggest threats might be Caelan Doris then as well. Like you kind of impressed with him over the last few years as well.
Again, coming back from injury, the leadership role that he has taken on, along with Dan Sheehan. And also being able to come back now after, again, a long injury. I was very interested in the selection of over the past weekend of playing him on the side of the scrum rather than the back, and that matchup between him and call it a Fraser McWright, the breakdown, etc. But he did so well. Now if you just it'll be interesting to see what they go with from a loose forward point of view, because Jack Conan's always also, he started all 3 test matches in South Africa with the Lions. The following year, he can't get a starting berth for Ireland or later in the year. So with Van der Fleer, Doris, Conan, that's a formidable loose trio. But then also you have Ryan Baird, who had a great game on the weekend as well, also contributing from a line-out point of view. So a lot of depth there, and you'd be able to put a really strong 23 together. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
I was chatting to, I think he's South African, so I did some podcasts and stuff. Harry Jones. I was chatting to him last night, and I was saying probably the same question. Was like, who would you prefer to see starting in the number 10 jersey, Crowley or Prendergast?
It's a tough one. I think, I think Prendergast from an attacking point of view is just such a massive threat. And if you look at the way that, when the Irish get on top, it is because of that. It's because of that continuity. It's because of quick ruck ball. It's because of good decision making between 9 and 10. And it just seems as if Prendergast is better at that. Jack Crowley, it seems like he's just a kind of a fierce competitor, and he won't disappoint you, but maybe lacking a little bit in terms of that from a purely from an attacking point of view. He did so well in that matchup between Leinster and Munster earlier this year. But I think they'll go, and also then you need to look at combinations. So the Gibson Park and Crowley combination, within potentially a lot of Leinster players in that backline and midfield potentially as well. So I think they'll go with 9-10 from Leinster.
Yeah. Well, listen, I said that's perfect. The last thing I was going to say was just that, it's amazing the consistency levels that the Boks have had, hasn't it? Like I was actually saying, we feel a little bit better here in Ireland after beating Australia so well at the weekend, but when we were struggling against the All Blacks and then Japan, and then we saw what you guys did to France with 14 men, that really that put the willies up as here over. So like, but I think we feel a little bit better about it now. But it's amazing to see how Razzie and the guys keep that team motivated, isn't it? Like,
yeah, look, they've been so impressive in terms of their consistency and finding ways to win. I think these two teams are competing on Saturday with both being in a very good positions, and that's what you want. I think had we played maybe Ireland first game up, it would have been a little bit different. And I think we saw that from Ireland, just a lack of a bit of ring rust as such. And just not being able to be there and be competitive for the full 80 just because of game time. Then the second week against Japan, a lot of changes to the team. But then over the weekend, you saw that game coming through. You saw that they're a little bit more comfortable in that. And I think that would have given them a hell of a lot of confidence. So I think both these teams on the up. From a Bok point of view, lots of disappointment, I suppose, in terms of the last 2 weekends games and some of the decisions made, etc. But I think they're in a good space collectively, and we'll certainly have some tricks up their sleeves as well. So we're hoping for a good one. Haven't won in Dublin since 2012.
wow,
So it's a big one. I mean, I obviously played in that one, and Ireland's been our bogey team, since that try from my big friend Roland O'Gara in 2004. Rogers tried that. I mean, you have to go. We have not had. I think it's only 20. I think it's 2008. Did we win 2 years? 08, 2010, and 2012 would be the only years that we have won there in the last 20 years, 21 years, if I'm not mistaken. So,
it's incredible, isn't it? Like,
so Dublin and Ireland has certainly been our bogey team, in the last 2 decades or so.
And that's it. I was saying that I think John Smith was doing a podcast on RTE there the other day, and he kind of did say that he said you can only tell if there's a real rivalry if the South African fans really hate you. And he said, like, he said, so it might be getting there now, like, but yeah, I know it's good. It's good to kind of see, isn't it? Like, but as I said, it's probably the same with, I said, Ireland and the All Blacks. You only really win their respect by beating them, don't you? Like,
Oh, true. That's
yeah,
sport.
yeah,
That's how you start competing. And hate is a very strong word. And I obviously have a big love for Ireland and having spent time there, and always enjoy going back. And the contact that I still have with some of my former teammates are ones that I absolutely cherish. The highlight for me in the last 3 weeks have been seeing Barry Murphy sing the national anthem in Chicago, and then also last weekend. That must top it all. So it's beautiful.
yeah. Again, just like thoughts on them, or what jumps out with you first when you kind of hear the name.
Yeah, I'd switch them around. I think if you pick them how they're going to be picked, but I would actually switch them around and use Porter more as an attack weapon to finish the game with. I think picking how you'll finish the game in a what is your optimal finishing 15 is the way that more and more coaches are picking. And I like Porter in that respect because you can decide when that phase begins. You can decide whether it's at 45, 35 minutes, 55. Rice has been bringing off props at 20 minutes if he wants to. But I just think starting the game with everyone knowing that Porter could do something that should be pinged is an undue stress. Whereas as the game reaches that final finale, it doesn't seem to matter as much. And I'm very impressed with McCarthy's scrummaging. So but I think those are clearly the two top guys.
Yeah, yeah. And then, yeah, assuming like I'd say it'd be some miracle. I think Sheehan is their number one. Like he'll start again, I'd say. Yeah, but yeah, like just I suppose, yeah, like thoughts to him as a kind of player as well, and what you've seen over him over the last few years, like.
Yeah, there are different types of hookers. So there are some positions in which I don't know, let's say a right wing. You just gotta finish your chances, and you're a strike runner, and you got to deal with the high ball. I think hookers can play in different types, and Sheehan is definitely a different type than Julio Montoya, and they're both really good splitting hairs. I think inside his little stovepipe, Sheehan's the best at that, which is a tall, elegant, strong runner, good hands, can lead a pod, can do all these core duties. Is not to me the grunty super scrum Malcolm Marks or Montoya. A little different type than Cody Taylor even. You can put Sheehan in the trams and he operates like Robbie Henshaw, but he's stronger. So I think there's something about Sheehan that sits there. He reminds me a little bit of just very like a Scout Brits, like a really mobile hooker. His body shape, if you just walked up in the field, I've seen him up close. I wouldn't think hooker. I wouldn't think Jackman or Keith Wood. I think a different guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you like it was pretty much guaranteed the old schooler Furlong is going to start, and yeah, he kind of showed everybody what he was kind of made of in the Lions tour again, didn't he? Like he's not done just yet. Like
still the best. I mean, he's one of those guys that is he as at his best? No, I think he's gone over that little peak, but it doesn't seem to be a steep decline. He's a gentle decline, and whatever he has lost in sort of dynamism and sort of open field carries and stuff, he's just your guy who would know how to fix a problem in the middle of the game. If the scrum's going wrong, I would see everyone, Porter included, turning to Furlong and saying, "What do we do?" So I think that's great. Yeah.
And then so it looks like it'll be Byrne. Like you kind of you're mentioning Byrne again. You thought he could have been in the mix for World Rugby Player of the Year. Probably him and Ryan, I'd say, starting there with no Joe McCarthy. Like it looks like it'll be those two guys. But yeah, pretty decent players. Like did well on the Lions tour as well.
Yeah, and what I said on the Lekker Rugby Pod this morning was that the Irish team to me is so good because it knows its limitations. So a Byrne and a Ryan don't come up against Ahia and Ibn thinking we're going to outmuscle them or outstretch them or be longer than them. They just find other angles and they're very clever at it. I mean, obviously Ryan is sneaky physical. He's a very legally violent player. Byrne is more of your big flank, small lock, slithery, always looks like he's out on his feet, never is. He's a bit like Tyson Fury. You're like, oh, he's got to go. But no, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this would be an interesting call now. I suppose actually, like, if from what you've seen, he's got I think this might be his 5th test start in a row with blindside, or maybe even 6th actually. But Baird seems to be the guy that's taken over from O'Mahony. I was saying that, I think it was on a podcast, or no, it was on the radio show earlier in the week, and I was saying Baird is capable of like a brain fade every now and then, but like otherwise he's done well like the last few games.
Birch Jackman told me that Baird was one of those guys who's always tested out high at every level. If you were just talking about athleticism, wingspan, speed off the ground, meters per second kind of stuff, coaches love him. What's always held him back is what you just talked about, the suddenly looking at a cloud in the sky, or someone in row 5 and just, inattention, which is not Peter O'Mahony, right? So you're replacing O'Mahony. You need someone who's just savagely, ferociously focused, and I don't think that's Baird yet. But what he hasn't got, what Mahoney got, he's got more on the athleticism. He's a true athlete. He's super long, which helps when you're putting him in the air, but also helps when you're stretching out to score. I suppose that's it. That we'll just want to see, can you grind and can you stay in the match?
Yeah, and then the other big call will now be considering that. I was actually saying, am I thinking of it as that Van der Fleer will probably come back in, but they want to just try out Doris to kind of see, could he be an option maybe like in the future. But yeah, it'll be interesting. They could keep Doris open side, but Van der Fleer, like it's so what's your take on that? Like, because he went in, did okay in the warm-up games, but then Farrell went for what you'd call more of a dog in Tom Curry that Lions tour, and maybe that's kind of something that he holds against Van der Fleer, but still a very good player though, isn't he? But maybe I was always saying he doesn't have that bastard in him. Like,
that's a very interesting rumination, is what does the Van der Fleer Farrell relationship look like now? Because I mean, there's no hiding the fact, right? Straight up, no, Curry's better than you, and maybe even the Welsh guy Morgan. So Van der Fleer is to be such an unheralded guy for Ireland. He won that World Player of the Year, but it never seemed like it stuck to him. It always seemed like, maybe, sure, it was a weird year or something. I would start him against the Boks. That's one of your points of difference. We don't have a proper open sider. Sia doesn't play that way. On the bench will be Andre Esterhazen probably. There's Ikwacha as a small sort of battle warrior guy, not really a classic on the bowler. I think if Josh can give you a good 60 minutes, that's a huge plus. You guys have beat us by 3, by 1, by 5, mostly because you won the breakdown. That's it. And all of those could have come down a different way. I get it. A drop goal, a maul that stopped, and a no kick, whatever. But it's still that you had to be there. And I think what made you be there was Doris, Van der Fleer, or the mixture of a proper 8, whether it was Conan or Doris, and then a proper open sider, and then a proper bar bouncer, Oman. And I feel like that's the way. I'm a big fan of Timony, so I'd be fine with him as well. But someone that is able to get into small spaces, take the hit, get hit by Ibn Etzebeth, and still, live to tell the tale. So I think that's Josh, what is he called? The Wicklow disciple.
And then so like, and then your thoughts on someone like Doris, who's again, he's shown that he can play across the back row now. Like, but again, maybe back at 8. But I think Irish fans have seen the difference that he makes when he's back around. Like,
for me, he's the best player on the team. He's better than Sheehan. I mean, I think I would if Doris is in my squad anywhere in any, he's my guy. I start him at 8. I'd start him above Jasper Visa. So I don't know of any 8s out there that are better than him right now. He's better than Aldrit. He's better than Ben Earl. He's better than whoever. I just don't. I think Caelan Doris is standard at number 8.
Yeah. And then the guy who kind of again could start again, like we don't know, but like Jack Conan, who's very interesting career for him, like, and a guy who's like ended up making 6 test starts in a row for the Lions, like but I actually think he's come into his own ever since he's grown this big mustache of his. Like, he's that's his character now. Like,
I mean, it's a very interesting career, isn't it? It's like when he finally hangs up his boots and tries to explain it, it's going to be very weird. I mean, maybe just almost unlucky, because if he misses Doris, or they kind of, have a more of a staggered playing careers, I think Conan's got whatever 85 caps or whatever. I have no idea what he has now, but he would be a big time player for sure.
Yeah. And then we'll probably go into so now you have the halfbacks. I suppose we start with the obvious one, the guy who Gibson Park is going to start again, and very interested. I think again it's been a very strange start to the season here in Ireland, where a lot of those Leinster guys are coming in and playing their second game of the season against the All Blacks, which is insane. But now he looks like he settled back into it as well. But he was great against Australia. But I think he's the type of guy. No problems with him being our scrum half going up to this World Cup, I'd say.
Yeah, and I don't think big games don't matter. I think he lifts really well for the Champions Cup finals. I thought for the better part of the one 2 years ago, he outplayed Dupont, actually. Just the extra time that got him. He's a fantastic player. My own take, maybe it's controversial, I think he'll struggle this weekend. I think the speed that the Boks are playing now at 9, and with some of the rule changes around protect the 9, are going to maybe expose him, depending on whether it's Sam next to him or Jack. If it's Jack, then I think maybe Jack can save him a little bit. But I think it's going to require the Lucies for the Ireland to boost him, or Jamison's going to have to be pushed back into the sweeper role. And then he's going to find that Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu has a hell of a strange, uncanny way of finding the sweeper. So does Willemse. Is these little chips over, these quick darts. So I would say Jamison Gibson Parker, to me, is one of the best scrum masters played in this era. But I think he's reaching a point now where that lost step compared to Craig Casey or whatever, it might be something worth considering, or the other guy, Blade. There's a point where you just get a bit slow to the ruck, where I think Ireland depends on speed of the ruck more than any other team.
Yeah, that's true. And then I suppose this will be a very interesting one. I think Crowley's going to start, but Prendergast, we was saying he had a great game at the weekend, really creative, great spiral kicks and kicks in behind and passes. And then he almost for Ikitau's try, he almost was falling backwards before he tackled him. So it's the thing that everybody's been saying. But I don't mind that they're kind of sharing the jersey. But I suppose who would you be more afraid of seeing? Well, I don't think you'd be afraid of seeing either of them. But
we're happy to see Sam. With all of Sam's talents, you could even see that when he played the Stormers in the first game of the Irk, how it got found out because there was just a concerted effort to run over him. And until he gains that extra 5 kgs, until he positions himself differently in the tackle, and just walking next to him through the tunnel in K-Town, he looks a bit ungainly, like a colt that hasn't grown into his legs. And I just think that's too easy for guys like Sio Kolisi or Jasper Wiese in particular. They just smell blood. He's just going to have a big target on him.
Yeah. And
Jack Crowley, on the other hand, he doesn't step back for anyone. He tackles like a center. He tackles like a loose forward. I also think he's more unflappable, Jack Crowley. What you lose is the magic. I get it. Sam has got that kind of, he can throw a ball that no one else can. He can do that silly spiral thing that looks like it's low and it keeps rising over your head.
And then that's, again, for a lot of I suppose it might be a bit like the Boks. The team kind of picks itself, but you'll probably see low in then on the left wing and a great kind of quality performer, isn't he?
You have to have Low, especially without Hugo Keenan there. He's your real clearance kick. He's your we will play in the right areas guy area. In Pretoria 2024, Low pretty much gave the game to us because there's a thing that Low does sometimes with he can win a game for you, he can lose a game for you. He tries to do too much, like Curtly Beale for Australia, where you just go, wow, you didn't have to do that much. So I suppose that's going to be the key. What has made Ireland look out of sorts for a little bit. I mean, there was a good win over the Wallabies, but before that was this feeling that the communications at the back wasn't as tight. Whose ball is it? Where are we going? An organizer like Robbie Henshaw, maybe he's not a starter anymore, but I like the way he yaks to people. Mac Hansen's still not, what you'd think is a proper fullback. So if there's going to be a lot of wacky kicks to him in the middle and trying to slice, maybe split the two of them, you'd want someone who's really a good communicator, doesn't just scream at everyone like Lowe can do sometimes. Yeah, I think that's the question mark. Can you get in his head?
Yeah. And then what are your thoughts are like from what you've seen? He's almost like a late starter to the whole thing. But what have you made of O'Brien? I think he might do well if he was down in South Africa.
Yeah, I want to see him more. It's hard to opine about him. I know he's quick. I know he's a guy who likes, we put him in space. He's really smooth. He looks confident. So that'll be a guy I'm looking forward to seeing live.
Yeah. And then, as I said, like it looks like, considering that, you have Keenan, it doesn't look like Farrell really trusts Stockdale and then Jimmy O'Brien, and so Hansen coming back, I'd say even I'd be interested to see how fully fit Hansen was, but like it's handy to drop a guy in a full back, like who can kind of cover nearly every position in the back line, and he just shows up and gets a hat trick within this, 30 minutes. But he's a guy that just makes stuff happen, isn't he?
It was so silly to see him score 3 tries against Australia. I just go, what are you doing? He couldn't stop. Matt Hansen reminds me of one of those guys like Ben Smith for New Zealand who you think, wow, that guy's always lucky. He scores so many lucky tries. He's always in the right place. And you go, that's not luck. When he does it that many times, I would say Matt Hansen's probably a good reader of the game, probably has really good spatial relations. He slithers really well. But I don't think at top speed, he's that quick, really. So I think kick space is the Tony Brown cornerstone. People don't get that. It's not about the running of it. It's finding kick space, which then allows Coffin corner to come in, and so then maybe Mac just has to run the ball out, or he tries to do too much, or Lowe gets charged down, or that's where I think you're trying to create. And that's, to me, of all the things we're talking about, that's to me the biggest opportunity for the Boks is in the back three and the cohesion of the back three and how it fits together. And if you bring back Sam to the back, which is what they often do to hide him, then that's even better, because now Sam thinks he has 5 seconds to catch, move, and kick, but he only has 2.
Yeah.
And
And then I think, now for me, I think, again, this is just guessing, but I think it's going to be Aki and Ringrose, because Farrell does like to just move those 3 lads, Henshaw involved, and he switches them around every November. They all seem to get the amount of game time. So that's my guess anyway. But what do you think? Like, Ringrose is a funny kind of character. Like he has a lot of missed tackle stats, but that's because Ireland do shoot him up, like, just to get in the way. Like, so it goes against him a lot of the time. But really unfortunate what happened with him during the summer, because he was definitely going to play in the test series for the Lions. Like, but yeah, still not quite that. Like, there's a lot of people in Ireland always kind of, you're the next O'Driscoll, but he's probably the closest to it in terms of he has a bit of magic, but then he's turned into a really tough defensive leader as well over the years.
Got really hard, concrete shoulders. He's the one I fear the most in the back line right now, because he's really absorbed the Nienaber system. Nienaber would have taught him a lot about how to play against a Nienaber system. And although the Boks aren't using the exact Nienaber system, the 3Bs, the big hit, the barge, and the blitz, it's still very much like it. In a strange twist. Now you got an Irish coach, refining the Nienaber approach for the Boks, and you have the best defensive coach ever from South Africa, teaching all the Leinster guys. But Ringrose appears to have gotten the most out of Jacques. He's really gotten angry and playing some very, very ferocious rugby. He can jar the man. He's really good at getting man and ball at the same time. I think that's so, depending on who we play. So if it's going to be Jesse Creel, that's going to be a great matchup. I'll just say, there you go, box office.
And then maybe just a line on like Henshaw, like, again, but he could, again, I'd say he'll definitely get 25-30 minutes if he doesn't start. But like, I think somebody said this is his 13th season now. Like, so he's one of the veterans, even though he's still only early 30s, but like one of the veterans now at this stage.
It's probably my favorite. I think he's my favorite in your team. Just his personality seems cool. Seems like a lovely fella. He seems slow to me. And I think maybe if you have Aki and Henshaw on the same midfield, it's just too slow against the Boks.
And then, the last one would be Aki now, who kind of, Again, he's a bit to prove after the Lions tour, because he got kind of exposed a little bit on that, especially in that, the final kind of 2 games. Like, but yeah, he had a good game against Australia. Like, it'd be good to see him. I can kind of see him, being this kind of maybe a hybrid player, or maybe this kind of guy that like is more of a bench option over the next couple of years. But on his day, like, he can turn a game still, I think.
Yeah, good, honest player. Always gives you everything. I can see why he tends to get the biggest cheer from the Irish crowd when he's announced for some reason. I remember being there when you guys won. I actually watched England, Ireland in Dublin, and I was impressed by the fact that Aki seemed to be the leader of the team. I mean, in terms of carrying the trophy, deciding who had it next, and being very excited. He just seems to be one of those characters. So even if he's not as quick as he used to be, side to side, he's definitely one of those guys that would never give up. And Ireland has made a living of running the Bucks much closer and beating the Bucks. There's no other team that has a 5 head-to-head record as good as Ireland against the Bucks right now. Everyone is in the hole. And some of them have the biggest losses in ages or ever. It's only Ireland that has 4 wins, 1 loss, with a thumping in 2017 by Ireland. So I think Aki will be one of those guys that rallies the troops if it starts going back downhill, which I think it will. I think the Bucks will have too much, but I can see Aki kind of dragging the team back in, and him and guys like Furlong and Ryan, they've got a lot of spirit. So I think you love Aki in a team. He's a good guy.
Yeah.